Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan.
Biz Wrap Radio, the show that celebrates entrepreneurs and small business with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan.
And welcome to another edition of Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Mike Manahan. Thank you so much for joining me today. And this show is broadcasting in between the holidays, between Christmas and New Year. And I'm wondering if I'm the only person working right now, because I tell you, the streets appear to be empty, and everybody I'm trying to get a hold of to do business with doesn't seem to be around. But I was really lucky. I've got a great guest lined up in studio today joining me, and we're going to have a really good show. But if you're new to Biz Wrap Radio, we are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We are here to help you, the small business people of America, do what you need to do. That is, you need to get ready for it. It's a dirty word. You need to make profits. Yes, that's what drives the economy. You make a profit, you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, you take care of your employees. Maybe you start to expand the business. You buy some new equipment, buy more inventory, open another location. All of that gets the economy going. Now, I know those guys in Washington, they want you to think they're the ones who gets the economy going. You know what? They're going to take your money, figure out how to spend it, shell it out to their cronies and the people that they like, and that's how you drive the economy. But that's not what really drives the American economy. Yeah, that's probably what drives the economy in Cuba, or maybe Venezuela, or Russia, I don't know. But here in the U.S., the economy is driven primarily by small business people, entrepreneurs. We've got literally millions and millions of entrepreneurs in this country, and they're running small businesses, and they don't seem to have much of a voice. I was just reading an article about how the IRS is, I'm not sure if it's the IRS or the Justice Department, but one or the other, they're able to literally go in and grab the assets of a small business without any due process, no court order, just if they believe the small business is engaged in some sort of criminal behavior. And think about this. They don't have to even produce evidence to a judge. They can come in and grab your bank account. Google it if you don't believe me. It's absolutely incredible. But anyway, check out our website. It is bizwrap.org. That's bizrap.org. Great information on there. Listen to all of our archived shows. We've had some absolutely fabulous guests on over the years that we've been broadcasting, and of course we've got other resources on our website that will be of use to you as a small business person or an entrepreneur. Now, with that, I'm going to introduce my guest, but before I introduce him, I want to mention something that a lot of us small business people struggle with. The world of business has changed, and that change has primarily been driven by something called the internet. I think about this. 20 years ago, the company I was working for 20 years ago, or most of the companies I was doing business with, I don't even think they had websites. And certainly they weren't aggressively marketing their products and services over the internet. But now, if you're not prepared to do that as a small business person, you're going to fall behind the competition. And it is an area that's not so easy to understand. When I think back to traditional marketing, I get what a press release is. I get what a brochure is. I can go down to my local graphics guy. He can put together some nice looking copy, and I can send it to the printer, and then I can hand out those brochures at a show or put them in the mail. But this internet crap, it's really a mystery, and it confuses the heck out of me. I'm sure it confuses the heck out of a lot of you. Hopefully, my guest today is going to help clarify that. So, my guest, it is Scott Herring. His company is Twisted Puppy. He is an internet marketing expert. Scott, welcome to the show.
Good to see you.
Did I introduce you correctly to Twisted Puppy as your company?
Correct.
Okay, so I got to ask about that, because I'm sure people are thinking out there, what kind of a name is that for a business? That doesn't sound very regal or serious. How did you come up with the name Twisted Puppy?
It's a long story, but dating back to the 90s. It was actually originally going to be a music magazine, but it was a really strong brand that I held on to. Even though I didn't build the website back then, I held on to the domain, just parked it for a long time, and then later on in my career, I had an opportunity to start another business, and I looked at Twisted Puppy as my venue for that. So it became an internet agency at the flip of a switch, and it's kind of worked out well because it's kind of a catchy brand. People seem to respond to that.
Well, you remember it. I can't. In fact, I had a guy in was interviewing here a couple of weeks ago, and I must have given his name of his company wrong like 3 times, and I finally had to hold his business card in my hand and look at it so I could, because we're one of those very regal sounding business names. But Twisted Puppy, you don't forget. So your expertise is internet marketing. Is that correct?
I started my first website in 1994. I was already a marketer, and so I really kind of grew up on the internet as far as marketing goes. I've been doing it for a few years, but that became the venue for everything. So,
wow, that's amazing. 1994.
Web 1.0.
Yeah, really. I just I remember back in the 90s, you get a quote for somebody to build a website, just a real simple website. I mean, it was like 3 pages on the website, or $50,000 or something like that.
We did all right in the early days. It was once we kind of built a portfolio, people responded to what we were doing, so we were doing that. We actually were an internet service provider. We hosted websites and built the solutions, and we had products. So we were part of that early generation of the web.
So you've evolved from that, and now today you're what do you do today? How are you helping companies out right now?
I focus on what they call conversion rate optimization. That sounds really fancy, but basically what we do is, you can't build a website now and just set it and forget it. So we help people build an original message, and then using analytics, we help them grow their business. So you can try a lot of different things on your website. You can no longer just build something and walk away. You have to kind of evolve it over time because everybody's moving so fast. Let's just take an example of Google. Google changes their algorithm all the time. So if you were to build something that ranks well in Google, it might do well today, but they might change their algorithm, and all of a sudden you start sinking and people can't find you anymore. So there's a lot you need to do to set up a website properly, so we help people do that. And then we kind of bake into the cake the analytics piece so that you can monitor your success.
So really what you're saying is the day of, I guess there might still be some businesses, I don't know, an attorney or something like that, where you could just build your website and leave it, but for most entrepreneurs, most small business people, this website has to be an evolving process. It's something you have to continue to be working on.
I would argue that even an attorney has to be posting some information on a regular basis, a blog or something, because Google rewards traffic. Mm-hmm. So if you are posting new material on a regular basis, Google likes that. Mm-hmm. I'm using Google as an example. It applies to Bing or any other search engine as well. But the idea you have to be adding content over time is important, because otherwise they look at you as kind of a stale thing. One thing I see all the time is somebody starts a blog. They build their website in 2011 and they start a blog, and then about 2011 November it stopped. And Google sees that. They see the spider webs growing in the corner, and so they just, you start falling in the ranking. So it's really important. I mean, search is a huge piece of what we do. The first thing people do when they hear about your company or whatever, they search, or they're looking for something local. I'm looking for a local attorney. And, the guy who ranks first is the one that gets the call, right?
Right, absolutely. And you're right about that, because I've seen that too. I've gone to a website where there's some blog or news being posted, and you see that when the blog was started, the posts were about a week apart, and then after about 6 months, they're about a month apart, and then after a couple of years, they're like 6 months apart.
It's really hard to be consistent about it because we get busy. It happens to us in our business. We get busy with projects, and marketing starts falling to the wayside. But it really pays a dividend to be doing it on a regular basis for a lot of reasons. I built a website about a year ago for a company. They have an app for the iPhone and iPad. and they've never done anything like that at all. And if you look at the growth curve on traffic to the website, it looks like a hockey stick.
Wow.
From zero to a complete, up and to the right. I've never seen a project go like that before. But really, I committed to doing regular blog posts, try to do one a week for them. And it just, Google rewards traffic. So if your site starts getting traffic, you start getting more traffic. It's a snowball effect. So
this is something that really, I'm thinking you've got to build in, as a business operator, some kind of personal discipline to make sure that you're constantly working on that site. I think for a lot of us it becomes, it's an afterthought. Okay, we got the site, now I got meetings today, I've got projects I have to do for my clients, I've got, a lunch engagement, I've got all of these things going on, and then, oh, by the way, if I've got some time, I'll get around to doing something on the website.
It's funny you say this because my clients all know my mantra is always be marketing, because you can't just leave it alone. It has to be a part of your routine all the time. If you don't, you start suffering the consequences.
Gotcha. We're going to talk a lot more about this. I am in studio with Scott Herring, Twisted Puppy, Internet Marketing, Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio, and we'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Mike Manahan. Thanks again for joining me today. If you just tuned in, I am in studio. I'm talking with Scott Herring of Twisted Puppy. He is an internet marketing expert, and we've been talking about a little bit about internet marketing. And Scott, again, thanks for joining me in the studio today.
Great to be here.
So we just before we went to commercial break, you gave your mantra, always be marketing.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about the importance of keeping your website, building content and changing your website and adding things to your website, and how for many of us it's kind of like the afterthought, and how we really need to change our thinking as business people. I guess it's kind of like if you had a brick and mortar store. I know years and years and years ago, I was a manager of a small business. We had a brick and mortar store, and we had one of those bay windows that people walked by out front. And we were always worried about what do we put in the bay window, and changing our display out there. We would change it for every season. If it was Valentine's, we'd have a Valentine's display, and if it was Easter, we'd have an Easter display. And it was a big part of our lives, what goes in the bay window. It was right there first and foremost, and I guess what we're saying is, if you've got a website, you need to be doing the same thing, and you need to be saying, what's in my bay window, my website, this week or today?
You need to keep it fresh, because if you're not, somebody else is. And so the buzzword for a long time was engagement. And really what we're looking for is ways to engage with our potential clients and our clients. So website is a really good vehicle for that. And I would say that it probably is the most cost-effective one too, because if you talk about your brochure or the things that you were talking about before, the cost of developing and printing that is pretty high, and it immediately is out of date the minute you print it. So
Correct.
For a website, you can always be keeping it fresh, and you get a real high return on that. So.
Okay, so now I'm feeling really guilty because I wrote a bunch of articles on my website, and I think the last one I put up was about 4 months ago, so I need to get busy. And it's funny because I actually have a list on my computer, articles to write. I think I've got 20 topics on there. I'm just not producing, so I need to fix that. Okay, so let's move on from maybe just, if we can, from website content and keeping your website fresh and good information on it. Everybody struggles with this issue of AdWords, Google ads, and these pay-per-click ads. And I hear so many people say, oh, we spent $10,000, we spent $15,000, we didn't get one single order, we blew the money. What are those people doing wrong?
So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. This is an interesting area, and it's kind of what I really specialize in, is the conversion rate optimization. So you can put a bunch of money into ads and not really know whether they're working or not, other than you just see the money going out. What we recommend is building split tests, which you can make two versions of the same page. So let's say you're running a promotion for $50 off or something. You can do a couple of different variations on that. different colors, different buttons, different headlines, different pictures, and see which one works better. And over time, you run your ad and run ads to one, run ads to the other, and you're testing one variable at a time so that you can optimize and get better sales from it. So people might respond to a certain headline, keep that headline, but maybe they didn't like the picture, so change the picture. So you can start working with those variables, and over time you'll get incremental gains. There's a whole science to this, and it's about motivating people to have desire for whatever it is that you do.
Gotcha. So if I'm let's say I decide to put some money into some Google ads, I sign up for my Google ad account and I come up with some phrases. What you're saying is, if I'm marketing the same offer, I build two different versions of that offer, if you will, and
multiple ads and multiple places for it to go. So that you can test and see which people respond to better. Do people click on this ad versus that ad? And then once they get to the page that you're sending them to, which page do they like better?
Gotcha. And I presume that all of that you're able to track somehow.
Absolutely.
through your website.
Through AdWords and through Google Analytics or whatever analytics package you choose.
Okay. So you need to. So if you're listening to us today and you're running Google ads and for your small business, and you do not have some analytic package, you're not able to analyze the flow of traffic, you're wasting your money. You need to do that. Now, is this stuff really complicated, Scott? Do I need to hire some techie guru to do this for me, or is this something I could do myself?
I hate to say it, but it is fairly technical, so a lot of business people may be better off outsourcing that function, because you do have to take some time to learn how the AdWords campaigns work, and then also how to monitor the analytics side as well. So as an example, you can set up some triggers within your website for which button they click. Because you might have a button at the top of the page and another button at the bottom of the page, and you want to see which one works better. I have a site that we're working on now where we really want people to watch a particular video, and that's a call to action, right? So
right.
That's one of the key things to get somebody into our sales funnel is they watch the video. Because the next step is a doozy. It's like learning about this particular product. It's a technical thing, so learning about it. The next step is a consultation. A lot of people are afraid to say, I'll spend 30 minutes on the phone with you. So we want to kind of tease them in and get them interested with a catchy video.
Sure. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And in fact, gosh, I wish I could remember her name, but we had a very interesting guest on the show here a couple of months ago. And one thing that her company does is for businesses where the selling process might be a little more complex, where you need to kind of explain a little about the product, she actually helps businesses produce that video to put on their website, so that when rather than spending half an hour on the phone explaining how this works and doing that over and over and over again, people can go to the website, watch the video, and then the idea is that then it's much easier to close the customer. So if you could produce that video, of course these days you can produce a video with your phone, for God's sakes, it's that simple. But if you do need help, there are people who can help you to produce a video like that.
So video is one of the elements that will get people to convert. But you might even want to dial back a little bit and keep something even easier. I love to create multiple offers for people when they land on a particular website. It might be a checklist that you can give away, downloadable PDF file or something that's real easy. So for me, like for January, we want to do a checklist of things you need to know about search engine optimization. So you want to be found in Google, we can give you 10 things that you should be doing in January, so it'll be easier to be found. Doesn't cost us anything to produce. It's just an article that we write. Give me your email address, sir, and I will put you on the list.
That is an absolutely great idea. And heck, I just signed up for one of those just the other day. I went to a website and they had some white paper on some tax issue I was trying to research, and for one of my clients. And the what I was looking for was in an article, but in order to get that, I had to give them my email address, and I did, and I got the article. And by the way, the article answered the question exactly what I wanted to know. And now I suppose I'm going to get some promotional email from them, but as long as they don't drive me crazy with their email blasts. Hey, that's another thing. Let's talk about that, because I've signed up for some things. Like, you've heard of the company called Total Wine.
Yes.
Okay. I am getting promotions from Total Wine with discount coupons for their Florida stores. Now, I've never been in a Total Wine in Florida. I have no idea how they managed to get my email address, and that they can't recognize whatever that I'm here in Los Angeles. But it just seems ridiculous that, and I get one like every week from this from Florida. If you do get somebody's email address, are there any rules we should really be following? I'm not talking about laws, but I'm talking about common sense marketing rules as to how often we should be emailing people, what we should have in those emails, any of that sort of stuff.
It's funny that you asked this question this week because we just got through the holiday season. I can't tell you how many emails I got from Best Buy. And from the wine stores and other places that I'm on their list, and they were just hammering me with email after email after email, and it doesn't work. It actually is very off-putting, and I'm looking for the unsubscribe button.
Right.
So there is a threshold, and really the key, first of all, the example you gave of the wine store in Florida, they haven't segmented their list properly. So they have you in the wrong bucket, and that's a big problem for them because they tied you to Florida. I don't know what that could be, but somehow they have you in a Florida segment.
Right.
There's probably no easy way for you to change it to a California segment.
No, probably just have to unsubscribe and forget about it.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing is unsubscribe, and then maybe if you really do want it, you subscribe again and probably put in the right CA instead of FL.
Right, right.
So segmentation is a form of analytics if you really think about it. It's like I want to send targeted offers to the right people, and so they've missed. But frequency is the issue that you're really kind of hammering on here too, which is how often to send, and it's hard.
Scott, let's talk about this a little bit more in the next segment. We're coming up. We've got to go to commercial break. It is Mike Manahan, Biz Rap Radio, in the studio. Scott Herring, Twisted Puppy, Internet expert. We'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Mike Manahan. Again, thanks for joining me today. If you just joined us, just tuned into the show, we are in studio with Scott Herring. He is the owner of Twisted Puppy. He's an internet marketing expert. Scott, again, thanks for being on the show today.
Hello.
Scott, so let me ask a question. If somebody's listening today and they're thinking, gosh, I could do a better job, or I could be doing some things differently with my website, but I need some help. First of all, are you available to help listeners? And secondly, if so, how do they get a hold of you?
Best thing to do would be to check out twistedpuppy.com, see if my flavor is the right flavor. You need to find somebody that offers the services that you're really looking for. So, as an example, we kind of do the whole suite of services. It's from website design through programming and development, and then we help with the content strategy and social media marketing and things like that. You may not need all that. So you kind of need to find who does what you're looking for in particular.
Gotcha.
But if you wanted to find us, it's twistedpuppy.com.
Okay, twistedpuppy.com. Couldn't be simpler than that. And boy, that name's going to stick in your head. Okay, so let's talk about blogs for a minute. I don't have a blog on my website, but I do write articles. I put up articles. I just post them as a page. There's one section that's called the Biz Rap News, and I just list all my articles there, and somebody can click on an article and read it. Should I be doing a blog as opposed to posting articles? What is the difference?
It's basically the same thing. So just sharing information is what a blog is for. Some people use it as a journal. Some people use it as a news platform. Other people are doing how-tos and things like that. That's kind of what we do. We focus on how-tos for a lot of different areas of what we do or for our clients as well.
Okay. Now, I did get an email from somebody, and they said, Mike, your articles, I disagree with some of the things you said in your articles, and I wanted to respond, but you don't have a place where I can post my comments back to you on what you've written. Is that something somebody should have on their website?
Actually, it's one of those Google formula things that's good.
Oh, it is?
If you actually have dialogue going on, it's a really good way for Google. It's a signal to Google that you're actually in an area that people are interested in. So they look at feedback and conversation as an important thing. One of my clients who has about 180,000 subscribers to his newsletter, is very active in the comments section. And he has the same idea that you're talking about. People argue with him. It's like, no, this doesn't work. No, you're wrong. And he actually will defend his position and say, hey, check out my other book and, whatever to see what I'm talking about. But the interesting thing for his particular blog is that a lot of his readers will defend him. So if somebody says this doesn't work, somebody else will chime in and say, oh, yes, it does.
Oh, interesting. So he's been able to get people who visit his website to engage in a conversation, if you will, about the things he posts. Would you mind telling me what kind of industry he's in? Or
he actually has a series of books that teach teachers, like elementary through high school teachers, how to teach better.
Oh, wow!
How to manage their classroom.
Maybe I could use this up. I'm a professor I teach accounting and finance at California State University, Dominguez Hills. Love teaching. It's one of my passions, and it's becoming increasingly challenging how to communicate with, I guess we have the same problem in business. One of my challenges as a professor, I think back to when I was a student, 30 years ago or whatever, 40 years ago. Whatever the professor said, I was focused solely on the professor. I had no distractions. I had my notepad in front of me, and every golden gem that came out of the professor's mouth was being written down on that notepad. Today, the students do not take notes. Most of them do not. Most of them do not bother to read the textbook. And most of them in the classroom are busy texting their friends or have their laptops open and are answering emails and engaging in all other manner of distracting activities. And as a consequence, it's hard to get your message across. And I'm thinking about business, and we face the same thing as business people. People don't read as much as they used to. They don't pay attention. It's really hard to get the potential customer focused and engaged in your business and listening to what you have to say.
You have to provide something of value to them, and it has to be like free or cheap or easy to get to. And I have this discussion a lot with people who write articles. They want to, write War and Peace in an article. And quite frankly, people scan. The most important thing is a captivating image at the top, something that will suck them in, a great headline, and then write in bullet points almost so that people can quickly get to your point. They'll drill down and read the details in between if they're really interested. But
Gotcha.
I get way more newsletters than I should, and I have to just scan through them. I'm really it's a digest process. It's like just quickly read through and see what's in there. I have 100 tabs open in my browser, and I have 30 emails in a folder that I haven't read yet, and it's things I want to get to.
Wow.
It's like drinking from the fire hose of information.
Right.
For the internet marketing space, it's changing all the time, so it's really hard, and it's really important to keep current.
Right.
It's like what's happening with Google, what's happening with trends and design and everything else. So there's a lot that we have to kind of pay attention to just to stay abreast with what's happening in the industry. But it's literally a scan for me.
Yeah. So if you are putting up information on your website, you've got to tailor it to the audience, which means you can't have huge essays. Now, somebody I had on the show a while back said if you do write an article on your website, you should put the title in the form of a question.
I recommend to a lot of people to use their frequently asked questions as sources for blog material. If you're getting a common question, that's how Google works. They're answering questions all day.
Right.
It's if you even look at kind of the type ahead suggestions that Google makes, they're starting to look more and more like questions. Machine learning works that way. That's what Google uses to do things. They don't have people reviewing websites. In fact, they're just computers crawling the internet all the time, looking for questions that people ask and then where to find the answer. So if you have a t-shirt company and you have what's the best t-shirt for the money,
right?
And it's like is it Fruit of the Loom or is it Hanes BPT? It's like if you provide that information to a customer and they type that in the browser, it can land on your site instead of some other t-shirt company's site, and then now you've got a better shot at the business. So writing to answer questions is a really good thing. I don't know that it's put the headline as the question, but answer the question.
Answer the question, right?
The big trend that's coming is a thing that Google calls snippets. You'll start to see this at the top of Google results now. It's almost like a quick digest or bullet point list of answers to the question. It'll be the first search result in a lot of things now. And you can write for that.
Wow, interesting. So this is a lot of stuff you need to know. Look, if you're interested in speaking with Scott, remember it's twistedpuppy.com. Go there, check it out. Check out his website. You can always contact him, and even if he is not the guy you need for your business, he can maybe help you make some informed decisions. But it is something you really got to pay attention to. You've got to. You've got to consider that your website, what goes in it, and how you manage it really is it's one of the critical aspects of your business. I think in this day and age, maybe with very few exceptions, if you're not doing a reasonable job on your website, you're missing opportunities to get customers. Now, Scott, we've got a couple minutes left before we go to break, but you were talking about offers and the importance of offers. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's you've got to attract people to your offer somehow. So you were talking about pay-per-click campaigns. That's one thing. If you see an ad at the top of Google that says, get $500 off on your first month, or 20% off this week only, they're creating a limited time offer, or they're giving you some kind of incentive to go check out something. So it's a really good idea to have offers, kind of build up a queue of offers for your business, things that you can give away or do, coupons, whatever it is, to entice people to check you out, because that first time customer could be a long time customer. So you need to kind of craft a few things, and there's different points in the funnel. You might have somebody that's brand new, you might have somebody who's been looking at you for a while, and you might have a different offer for somebody who's been checking you out for a while. So it's just a great plan to create multiple offers. Try different things too. It's like you can experiment and see what people respond to. Is it a time-based thing? Is it a money-based thing? Is it a free thing? Whatever it is that gets people to go check you out, because you have to find a way to capture them to get the engagement in the first place. It could be, when they land on your homepage, there's a special thing in the corner. It could be if they saw an ad on Google. It could be something that you offer in a newsletter. So the first time somebody came in, you had, get this free checklist if you subscribe. That's called gated content. So if you have, something that's free the first time, but then later on you can nurture them.
Okay, let's talk more about this in the next segment. Really interesting stuff. It's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio, in studio with Scott Herring, Twisted Puppy. We'll be back right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. I am in studio with Scott Herring, Twisted Puppy. He's an internet expert, internet marketing expert, I should say. We talk about some great ideas about things you can do to improve your Google rankings, to improve your traffic, and to capture more business from the people who do visit your site. Scott, again, thanks for being with me. Scott, that brings up something else that really pisses me off. It's when I go to somebody's website, there's no phone number. I mean, why do they do that? What's wrong with having a number where somebody can call and talk to a human being?
Okay, so we're talking about some small businesses here. They might not have easy access to regular phone hours. So it might be somebody that's working freelance or doesn't really want to make themselves that available. Don't call us, we'll call you. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's I often just won't do business with somebody that doesn't have a phone number. There's another thing. I go to some websites and the website prominently features who the owners are. I mean, it could be a restaurant, for instance. Another picture of the owner in his chef's hat, and he's in there in the kitchen. And then you go to another website, and you have no idea who is behind this company. And to me, that's worrisome. I like to connect with people, and if I go to a website and there's a picture of the owner, and I don't know, he's playing with his dog or doing something, and he's got a couple of paragraphs about him personally, and to me, that is something that would encourage me to do business with that company. Any thoughts on that?
So you're talking about what your preference is for engagement, but that does not necessarily rule for everyone. So that's something to think about in terms of Let's take an example of Google. You can't call Google.
No.
You won't see a picture of Sergey on the about page. It just doesn't happen. So not every company works the same way. And one of the things that we've kind of talked about early on is experimentation. Different people respond to different things, and that's, it's unique to your business. It's unique to your audience. You need to figure out who your audience is and cater to them. So some people might really want that face in the crowd. I can't tell you back in the day how many people want to be about menu to be about choice to be the first menu item. And it's actually the least traffic one. If you look at most people's website traffic, the analytics, it's like that's kind of the last piece of the puzzle. People really want to know what the offers are and what you do first. And then maybe as a background check, they'll go see who the owner is and what his background is.
Well, I just made one of those classic marketing mistakes, too, and something that I've talked to companies about all the time, is you cannot assume you understand the motivations of your customer.
Absolutely. I'll give you a great example of that. I was working on a web project, last year or year before, where it was a YouTube network, and we assumed that the audience was going to be 13-year-old girls because that's who's on YouTube, music stuff. The monetization component of that was actually 18 to 34-year-old males. So we couldn't have been more wrong with the assumption, but it was like we had just seen anecdotally what was going on and thought that was what the market was. We lost a lot of time and spent a bunch of pay-per-click money finding out that we were completely wrong.
Wow. Yeah, that is really good advice. And you need to know your customer, but you can't project your own buying patterns or likes and dislikes on the people whom you're serving. You've got to find out from them.
Build a hypothesis and test it.
Yeah.
And that's why, we were talking about earlier, you have to kind of fine-tune your message over time, because you could be right at the beginning, or you can be completely wrong. The cool thing now is that you could run multiple pay-per-click campaigns to find out who those people are. So you could say, hey, let's do a campaign for 13-year-old girls. Let's do a campaign for 18 to 34-year-old boys. Let's do, you could try different things and see where people click.
Let me ask you something about brands. I've heard some people say that in the internet age, brand loyalty is very quickly eroding. And I look at myself. If I want to purchase, travel's a good example. What I'll do is I'll Google, resorts in Puerto Vallarta, and I'll check out 3 websites. I don't care what websites they are. Kayak, Travelocity, Bookings.com, Expedia. I'll check out maybe 3, and that's the most. And then, I'll just make my decision, whichever one seems easiest to use, or whichever one seems to have the cheapest price. And the next time I book, I would not even think, last time I booked at Travelocity, I need to go back there and check first. Have we lost the brand loyalty that I think consumers may have had
Not at all.
in the past?
Some of those spaces have become really commoditized, so it definitely has lost that, but I think there's probably some people that prefer to go to Orbitz over Expedia. There are people who have some kind of loyalty. Those brands need to work on their customer experience, because if it's above and beyond, if they offer something that the other guys don't, you'll probably go back. So in a small business, it's all about how you treat the customer to get them in the door, and then, if you want to keep them in the long haul, you don't get a whole lot of chances because it is super competitive out there. So you have to offer good information. You have to keep ahead of the curve so that people know that you're going to be leading the way and not reacting, after the fact. So.
Is there in kind of your opinion, can you use formulas for this sort of stuff, or is it really, hey, each business is different, you have to look at experiment?
It's all about trial and error and see what people respond to, because there's no formula. There absolutely is not. I mean,
so actually,
you can start with a formula and see if the formula works.
Yeah.
But chances are good it probably won't.
So really, what you're saying is, if I put together some marketing campaign and I test it and it doesn't do very well, at least I've learned something.
Yes, exactly.
I've learned
you can figure out what really doesn't work.
But
you might see certain things that do work. Like, did they look at the page? Did they click on the ad? There's little bits and pieces that you can do.
Right.
I've run ad campaigns that got no clicks.
Wow.
which is a good sign that either it was the wrong keyword or the wrong headline or the wrong message. So you can change the headline, change the picture in the ad.
So this is an evolving process, and and again, I think it goes back to that idea some people have. You kind of build your website, you do what you do, and it kind of sits out there. But you really have to be really thinking all the time. What do we do on our website? What do we do in our marketing? How do we change it? How do we make it different? How do we improve it? As opposed to just kind of doing the same old thing.
Analytics is about making smart decisions based on data that comes in. So you're getting an education from your customers of what they like,
right.
They don't.
Right.
I think the most egregious error I see is that people will A, not have Google Analytics, or B, not look at Google Analytics. And you don't have to look at it every week, but it's good to look at it on a monthly basis or something like that, so you can see, is traffic up? Is traffic down? Are people spending time on my website? What pages are they going to? I've always said, do more of what works and less of what doesn't. So
right.
That's what you really want to do, and that's really what we're kind of talking about when we talk about conversion and search engine optimization is doing more of the stuff that helps, because that's what can get you going up and to the right.
Wow, this is such valuable information, and I think if anybody just really listens to what we've been talking about and looks at their own website, their own marketing campaigns, they can certainly make some improvements. Scott, that we've come to the pretty much closing time for the show. I really appreciate you being on today.
Very cool. And
I've been talking with Scott Herring. He is the owner of Twisted Puppy, internet marketing firm. Go to twistedpuppy.com. Check it out. Here at BizRap Radio, we are fixing the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulations and a planned economy. That's it for this week. Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. Let's all make a lot of money in 2017, make some profits, and have a good time. We'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.